Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm Dan Besbris, and we are recapping Wednesday, which had a handful of ads, actually, blended in there on a kind of a medium-large. I know how to combine small and medium into smedium. What's a combination of medium and large? Medium? Large? Not a great start to the show, everybody, but we'll get there. I'm Dan Besbris on Twitter, at Dan Besbris over there, Old Man Squad on Blue Sky Network. Please, as you're settling in, hit that like button. It actually still is important, even at this time of the season. And subscribe if you like what we're doing here at Old Man Squad Sports Network. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, a 5-star review does indeed go a long way. Here we go. Let's dive into the Wednesday card. That's Basketball Monster, everybody, if you guys are wondering where we get these stats from. Oklahoma City beat Boston in the big showdown. That was that first game of the day. The last game of the night ended up as a really fun one also. As far as this game is concerned, and it's nice that we get to start with possibly the biggest ads news of the day coming out of the very first game, and it's Cason Wallace. Jalen Williams is out with a hip strain. We don't know exactly for how long. But Wallace feels like the big winner here. Not that other guys won't have more to do. Lou Dort is going to take more shots, but you couldn't possibly pay me enough to care about that. Aaron Wiggins was absolutely terrible here. I think he'll be better in most ball games. If or when Alex Caruso is healthy enough to go again, which is intermittently for him, he'll probably have some decent ones as well. But Wallace is the consistent one because you get him into that starting five, you get the minutes locked in, and that's always been the thing we've talked about. Great steals opportunity to get a few assists, opportunity to get a few three-pointers. I think Cason Wallace does belong on fantasy rosters here while Jalen Williams is out. For Boston, this was, you got the varsity squad. I like to use that terminology now on the show. Derek White, Al Horford filling in for Porzingis, who's actually still recovering from a pretty gnarly illness. Tatum, Holiday, and Brown. That is basically your Celtics starting five. Once Porzingis comes back, Horford obviously slides to the bench. Boston has a back-to-back coming up tomorrow and Saturday. Miami, the first half. Brooklyn, the second half. They're going to be resting their guys on each side of it. So you'll probably see Jaylen Brown get a day off. You'll almost definitely see Drew Holiday get one off. You might see Tatum get one off. Also, Horford will definitely rest one. If Porzingis comes back, he won't come back for both. He'll come back for one or the other. And so if you're thinking about, when you could potentially rock a games cap play in there, because you're not going to go unlimited games move with any of these guys. Now, you might get here's the thing. If Porzingis is back, then you don't really want to do the Luke Cornett thing because then they'll have one center they could use in each of the two upcoming back-to-back. Sam Hauser would be an intriguing just those 2 days stream for three-pointers if that's really what you're hunting. But I also think that maybe we're overextending ourselves a tad if we wanted. Because you know me, I like to, if I'm going head-to-head side, I want to pick up a guy for more than 2 days. So anyway, Cason Wallace is the big story there. Charlotte, Atlanta. This is, of course, the game we were all really excited about. Daquan Jeffries had 20 points, but I don't care. Charlotte is Bridges, Ball, and Mark Williams, and that's really all you got to worry about with the Hornets. They don't extend beyond that in almost any capacity. When they have a back-to-back, which is middle of next week, then you can start looking at like a Yusuf Nurkic, but that would be about it. For Atlanta, they're trying to work Vit Krejci back in. He only played 14 minutes here. Just keep one eye on him for if or when the minutes start to tick up a little bit. Karis LeVert is a pretty solid head-to-head volume guy right now. I would not use him against a games cap. George Niang, kind of a threes streamer on the head-to-head side. Don't use him against the games cap. Zachary Risacher was due for a clunker after having a big one. Same kind of general story for Terrence Mann. Now that they've got all of their wings back, it gets pretty dang congested for the Hawks among these head-to-head plays, and that's why none of them is a roto play. Before we get to the third game on the card, it's March Madness time, and BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all the madness. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-timer, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. They've got the largest selection of odds on everything from March Madness across the sports landscape, and you can loop all the way back around to a $200,000 bracket contest also for March Madness. Bet Online, with all of those choices, continues to be your number one sports betting source. So if you've got a feel for one of these upcoming Cinderella stories, now's the time to join and have some fun with odds, stats, and more on every game, every play, and every win. Bet Online. The game starts here. The Zombie 76ers are an intriguing bunch. Man, I feel good about the fact that we got out in front of the Quentin Grimes thing. That one is turning out to be way better than we could have ever expected in 1,000 years. He is crushing right now. Yeah, I don't like the 6 turnovers, but what are you going to do? Lonnie Walker bunked his head in the first minute of the ball game, did not come back. I'm sure he'll be checked out for a concussion. We'll see how that goes. If he can come back, I think Lonnie Walker's probably worth a look. Not first minute of the game, excuse me. First minute of his action on the floor. Kelly Oubre came back, so that bumped Walker back to the bench. So Oubre's a start. Grimes is a start. Those are the only guarantees right now. But I do have a little bit of a soft spot for Jared Butler and a little bit of a soft spot for big Andre Drummond, who I know put up a worse fantasy line than his backup in this game. Adem Bona had 13 and 9 with a steal and a couple of blocks. But if you told me that Drummond is going to play 25 minutes, basically rest O season, he's a guy that I would end up putting on my fantasy team. What I don't know where Drummond is, whether he's going to play in a back-to-back, because Philly has a bunch of them basically looping around every weekend for the next couple of weeks. They roll a back-to-back. And if he's not going to play in those, it makes him a much tougher sell on the head-to-head side. If he is going to play in those, he becomes a really intriguing source of boards and mostly steals and blocks. So, I mean, the field goal percent could usually be better. It's good for him when he plays alongside better players, because then he can just get putbacks and lobs. When he's actually a guy that's like, oh, it's my turn to go create something, that's where stuff gets a little bit kind of ugly. But you know he's going to rebound. 6 rebounds in 25 minutes is the bare minimum for Andre Drummond. It's 25 minutes, he'll usually get you more like 8, 9, or 10. So, I don't think we need to do anything about it today, because it's Thursday. They don't play today. They play tomorrow. They play Sunday and Monday. So, schedule gets a little bit better for those stretches. But, overall, the schedule is pretty good for the 76ers regardless. But, 3 back-to-backs over the span of about 16 days is a pretty nice stretch when there isn't a break of more than a day in between games in there. I didn't bother to do the math, but I think we're talking about what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games over, is that 16 or 17 days? 7, 14, 16? That's a pretty good stretch. We're in the middle of it now, and, they end up with a 6 out of 9 starting on Sunday and a 7 out of 11 starting tomorrow. But again, it's going to come down to whether or not he's playing in back-to-back. So we'll talk more about Drummond on our streaming show. I just wanted to put him on your radar. I don't think that you need to use him against the games cap. Jared Butler, on the other hand, if Tyrese Maxey and Paul George don't bother coming back, Jared Butler could just sort of roll the rest of the way as a pretty high assists upside play for this team, because they're not going to play any defense. They're just going to be out there chucking away. And the guy who brings the ball into the front court and flips a pass to somebody, that's going to be a dude who gets a bunch of assists. And if he does anything else, it's just kind of gravy on top of it. So Butler, in terms of whether or not I think he can have top 100 9-cat value, it's questionable. Because I don't think his field goal percent is going to be very high. I don't think he's going to get many defensive stats. But, if you look at the last week, he's at 25 minutes a game, and he's at 10 points, 6 assists, and over 2 3-balls in that stretch. That feels fairly sustainable for him. But the minutes have to stay at 25 or higher, and that's going to require that none of the usage guys come back. I'm a little surprised, actually, that he hasn't been picked up in more places. He's available in all 10 of my leagues. Some of them are relatively competitive, and assists are hard to come by. He's not a great rebounder. He's going to be, probably around 3 rebounds and starters minutes a game, so that's not going to get you very far. And again, the steals are not a thing, but threes and assists is a combo that most teams need in their head-to-head playoffs right now. So don't write Jared Butler off. He's on my sort of fringe ads board for today. And then keep an eye on Adem Bona. Should they pull the plug on all the other centers because Gershon Yabusele's out, and what if Drummond sits a game or whatever, that might become more of a one-day kind of play. The Raptors are all kinds of silly right now. Jakob Poeltl was the only varsity squad member to get a start in this one. One would assume that kind of flip-flops in the next ball game because Toronto is in Utah tomorrow. Then they're in Portland on Sunday. And then they go back to playing somewhat competitive teams with a very bad schedule next week. I don't even really know. I truly don't know who to tell you is going to play for Toronto in any given ball game. So it makes it really hard to say, oh, go pick up AJ Lawson because he's now scored 60 points in his last 2 ball games. But, like, is he going to really get 20 minutes again? And Jakob Poeltl started this game, but he only got 17 minutes. So they're going full into mega rest mode in Toronto. And so, that puts Orlando Robinson on the map, and it puts Colin Castleton on the map, and it puts... Go figure. Who the hell is this? Jared Rhoden on the map. I have to admit, guys, I didn't know who the hell Jared Rhoden was before he came out of nowhere to do a bunch of stuff. I mean, we're talking about a guy that hadn't played until a week and a half ago. We don't know anything about his fantasy game, but this was obviously a big one, and he played 43 minutes. When they bring Barnes and Quickley and RJ Barrett back for the game they're not resting, these are guys that are going to do very little. Although Lawson actually did some stuff in the last ball game. But then when Poeltl sits, does that mean Orlando Robinson has the better path? Does that mean that Orlando Robinson is your safe play right now in Toronto because he's getting minutes filling in for Poeltl here? Castleton kind of a little bit of that as well. But then does when Barnes come back and play power forward, does that push Robinson up to center and kind of bench Castleton? Or how does that work itself out? We can look at the last couple of ball games, but it's not much of a sample size here. And like Jamison Battle played 38 minutes also. The Raptors have the potential to be a silly season gold mine, but I really don't have the stones to dive in on them. I think if you're going to go any direction with Toronto, if you wanted to pick up any fringe guy, it would probably be Orlando Robinson because he's willing to take shots. He can rebound a little bit. He can pass a little bit. Defensive stats are here or there, but that's how they are for a lot of guys. Castleton probably has the more interesting fantasy game because he's very, very, very tall. But when Scotty Barnes comes back, does that mean Castleton's only going to play like 19, 20 minutes? Probably. And then if you're looking for just straight scoring, does that mean that AJ Lawson is going to get opportunity here in multiple games in a row? Because, like, he's played 32, 33, and then 36 minutes at 27 before that, but the shots went 13, 11, 21, and 20. I would say go back and look at the Raptors win over the Wizards in the previous ball game when Lawson put up whatever it was, 32 in that one. Barrett, Barnes, and Quickley did all play, but they all played 27, 25, 26, 28 kind of minutes. So they weren't getting the mid-30s. And it kind of feels like they're just going to shovel minutes on to Lawson right now as kind of like the primary reserve dude. I'll admit, I'm more concerned about Lawson in this next game tomorrow when Quickley and RJ and Barnes are probably back in there. Even if they're only going to play half the ball game, that does put a little bit of damper on it. But if you're looking at Sunday, if they do continue to alternate who gets rest days when, then maybe that's an opportunity for Lawson to kind of go big in that one. I just there's so much with the 76ers right now. Not the 76ers, the Raptors. It's one of those things where I want to be able to sit here and yell at you guys and say, oh, you got to pick up AJ Lawson, or you got to pick up Jared Rhoden, or you got to pick up Orlando Robinson, or whatever. But it's a giant question mark. If you're looking at the last week, so let's spend a little bit more time on that. Castleton played 23, 26, 27, and now 40 minutes in those games. His rebounds have been pretty good. His blocks have been pretty good. And he's actually passing okay out of the big man spot. Is there an upside shot? Yeah. I mean, for the game that Poeltl sits, or for the game that Scotty Barnes sits, apparently, that's the sort of upside play there. How does that translate into next week? Toronto's schedule is not very good into next week. So, like, head-to-head side, you'd hold through Monday, and then you're done. So, again, you don't want to overextend yourselves there. But like, if you need scoring, it sure feels like Lawson's just going to jack up shots until somebody tells him he can't anymore. And Jared Rhoden, like, is he going to go big in the games where they rest the main scoring guys? It is very, very, very hard to say. I think I'm settled on the idea that Robinson is the dude who's probably going to get the most reliable rebounds of the bunch and probably reliable, just like reliable floor, because he's going to get you a few defensive stats, not a ton, but he's going to get you some boards. He's going to get you a couple of assists. He might score a little bit, but like he was playing a little even before all of this craziness went down. Not a lot, but a little. And like, no, I don't trust Jamison Battle. Yesterday was the first day that he's ever shown like true signs of life on offense. We'll talk more about it tomorrow when they play again, when we find out who's resting in that game tomorrow. But Toronto is a lot right now. All right, let's pick up the pace a little bit from here. Because we spent a lot of time on the Raptors, and you kind of have to. Utah, they played their guys in this ball game. Basketball Monster, you can see they think they're not in the next one. And they're probably right, because they've got Toronto at home on Friday. And then they go out for a Minnesota-Chicago back-to-back, and then the varsity squad will be in for one of those two ball games. I don't know which one it's going to be, but it'll be something. Hopefully we get Keontae George back for an upcoming one. There's not a whole lot you can do with Utah today other than you probably want to be on Kyle Filipowski for one of these upcoming games because you know Kessler's not going to play in all of them. Otherwise, it's a crapshoot. So wait until tomorrow. We'll deal with it then. Memphis got Luke Kennard back for this one, and he went huge, although I don't know if you can trust that that's going to happen again. John Morant played. Desmond Bane played. This was the one where you thought maybe they'd give one of those guys the day off. They did not. Brandon Clarke came back. He was okay, but he only played 19 minutes, so that was a little bit of a buzzkill there. Scotty Pippen Jr., 6 assists, 4 steals, and a block. If you were streaming him in head-to-head, that was the direction you're going. If you're going, like head-to-head, almost any of these guys that we've talked about is playable. If you're going games cap mode, you're just sticking with the main guys. So that's Ja, and that's Desmond Bane. I swear right now, every time I sit down to do a podcast, my nose starts to clog up a little bit. I think I'm allergic to something in the corner of my bedroom. I got to get this figured out. Brandon Williams was back for Dallas, so no time missed there. That was pretty good news. And again, he's a pretty good stream here for points and assists. So Brandon Williams deserves a spot on your head-to-head rosters. I think we can drop Max Christie. He's just been ice cold lately, and I think he will warm back up again, but we're so close to the end of the year that you don't need to wait it out with him on your roster. For games cap, you're going Klay Thompson and Naji Marshall and maybe Brandon Williams. Iffy. And then head-to-head mode, when Dallas has a good schedule, you can keep an eye on Dante Exum. He can throw him on the list as well. But Spencer Dinwiddie, Kessler Edwards, Max Christie is still in that range. And then, like we said, Brandon Williams is sort of like on the fence between the two. I think maybe just ever so slightly on the yes side of would I play him against a games cap, but I'm not positive. Spurs spread the wealth around in this ball game. Fox, Vassell, Chris Paul remain the three guys that you can play every single day. Keldon Johnson is a points and boards stream. Sohan is more of a rebounds and assists and sometimes steals stream. He scored a little better in this ball game. Harrison Barnes is for points and threes. Biyombo is for blocks and rebounds. Julian Champagny is for steals. Stephon Castle is for points and assists at a punt build. All those guys are schedule play onlys, except for Castle, who does get over the threshold in points leagues. Let's take a very quick commercial break, and then we'll get you Phoenix and Houston. Phoenix, I mean, we have to be getting close to where they're going to start to pull the plug on this season, right? Right? The teams in basically the 9, I mean, even the Clippers have been bad lately, but like the Kings have lost a couple in a row. The 10, 11, and 12, and 13, whatever you want to call these teams, they're not eliminated yet. They're basically eliminated, but they're not eliminated yet. Oh, man, did the Blazers need a win last night to convince themselves they weren't eliminated? But mathematically, they're still in it, so they're going to keep playing their guys. Beal, Durant, Booker, those are the only Suns you play against a game's cap. Schedule play when the time is right. And for Phoenix, I mean, you could make an argument that tomorrow they start at 3 games in 4 days, little stretch there. Suns are in not a bad scheduling spot starting last Sunday, where they have 6 games over 9 nights. That's pretty decent. But there are, like, the fringe options are not that great. Tyus Jones is going to be interesting for one day when Beal sits out on the back-to-back. Nick Richards sat this one out, so that kind of screwed that one up, but he was a pretty reasonable play for rebounds, more or less. Royce O'Neal will get you some rebounds and usually threes. You got some steals in this one and assists, which was a little weird. Grayson Allen was out for this one, which also makes it tough because even the Suns fringe guys don't play every day. They're not a great source of streamables. Rockets got Freddie VanVleet back. He played 27 minutes in his return. That's not bad. He was fine. Just good to have him back out there, which makes the decision-making here a little bit simpler. Interestingly, Jabari Smith Jr. was the guy that got punted to the bench, and Tari Eason stuck in the starting 5. That's cool for Eason, and it makes Jabari Smith Jr. a fringe play. He's a schedule guy in my eyes now. If he's not going to start, I'm not trotting him out there. So Jalen Green, Freddie VanVleet, Tari Eason, Alperen Şengün are games cap plays. Dylan Brooks and Jabari Smith Jr. are schedule plays only. Clippers took care of the hapless Miami Heat. Boy, the sky has fallen on the Heat really since the Jimmy Butler trade. Like, they were able to hold themselves together with Tyler Hero going huge for most of the year. And he was actually pretty good in this ball game as well. But as Hero has slowed a tad, and it's not like overly ridiculous slowing because he has these big ball games every once in a while, but they just don't have enough other firepower. This was the Kawhi-less game for the Clippers in their back-to-back, so you knew this was going to be the one where you could drop some other dudes in there. Clippers' next back-to-back is Tuesday, Wednesday of next week if you're looking for a one-day Bogdan Bogdanovic play. Bogdanovic, Chris Dunn, Amir Coffey, Nick Batum, you could argue any of those guys, and Derek Jones Jr. you could probably play in schedule spots. But again, you're not using against the games cap unless, and that's Bogdanovic and probably Dunn when Kawhi is out. Otherwise, James Harden and Ivica Zubac are the only guys that you're using against your games cap. And then Kawhi, certainly when he plays. On the Heat side, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, and Andrew Wiggins now are the trustworthy ones. Kel'el Ware is kind of, I don't know if he's hit the rookie wall or if he's just fallen out of favor, but Kel'el Ware has fallen into a schedule play, which Miami is in a good little schedule pocket right now, so you don't need to move off of him today because they've got a back-to-back tomorrow, Saturday. But if you're holding on to Ware in a roto spot, I don't think you need to play him right now. No, I don't trust Pelly Larson. Duncan Robinson is a three-pointers play only. Davion Mitchell is your assists and steals play. That was bad in this ballgame. He got jumped over by other dudes. Terry Rozier, I don't trust either. Haywood Highsmith, probably for steals only. I don't know. You knew this was going to be kind of a tough matchup because the Clippers play very good defense. But boy, it was worse than expected. This was a fun one. Knicks and Blazers went to overtime. Miles McBride continues to be a great, great ad since Jalen Brunson went down. He had 4 steals, 2 blocks in this game. Didn't score all that much. That's okay. You didn't expect him to go too nuts in scoring every ball game, but he did it 3 threes and had 5 assists. Cool beans there. Otherwise, you just start the starters. And for the Blazers, Jabari Walker into the concussion protocol. He's also actually, the only injuries yesterday were guys getting doinked in the head. Anthony Simons was bad, which, whatever, he's surviving. Denny Avdia, extremely inefficient, but from a rolling up stat standpoint, he did quite well. Scoot is a hold. Avdia is a hold as long as Jeremy Grant is out. You guys know this story by now. You can use him against the games cap when Grant is out. I would only use him in head-to-head when Grant is in. Shaedon Sharpe is your punt play. Donovan Clingan wasn't actually playing all that well in this game. He had a pretty good finish to regulation, and then he also posted some numbers in overtime, which not many people did, actually. 6 points, 12 boards, an assist, and 3 blocks. With Jabari Walker going down, it makes it harder for me to say to drop Clingan over this 3-day break because Portland's off until Sunday now. But so size up your team. If you're on the head-to-head side, do what you got to do. Roto, I think I would try to hold on to Klingon because I do think that as this season winds up, he's going to get to do more. And this was sort of an example of what that would look like when he gets up near 30 minutes, which pretty guaranteed value in rebounds, blocks, and usually field goal percent on Klingon. Minnesota and Denver started later, but ended earlier, and the game itself was over by basically the third minute of the fourth quarter. Timberwolves playing pretty good ball right now. Jaden McDaniels continues his run. Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, all solid games. Rudy Gobert was fine. Naz Reid is in a little bit of trouble, but don't panic. He still got 26 minutes. They still love him. He just happened to be a little bit less involved on offense. And then, they didn't need any of him later on in the ball game either. So Naz Reid remains a hold. Don't panic there. Wolves have their guys back, but let's just see if they can keep it going. And then for the Nuggets, we already mentioned it before. Russell Westbrook is a play as long as Aaron Gordon is out. Peyton Watson, if you were looking at some sort of schedule stream, he's the only one that you would consider, but he was also very bad yesterday as well. Okie dokie. I think that's the end of the board. Oh, you know what I wanted to do for you guys? I sort of promised I would do this towards the end of shows, and that's get the list up there. And these are the key names that we talked about today. I put a tweet out about it late last night, mostly so that I would remember to put this up on the screen for you guys today. I know, what a kind-hearted fellow that Dan is. These are the guys that I thought really stood out yesterday. Cason Wallace, who's likely a free agent in your leagues. Jared Butler, also likely a free agent. Brandon Williams, I don't know. Maybe he got dropped when he got hurt in the last ballgame. And then three names that are probably already picked up, but you should just double-check, is Naji Marshall, Miles McBride, and Russell Westbrook. See if those dudes are on rosters. If you're curious about the guys that I'm keeping an eye on, Scotty Pippen Jr., Brandon Clarke, Andre Drummond, who we talked about, Bogdanovic when Kawhi is out, and Orlando Robinson in Toronto. The droppable names we mentioned today, Bol Bol, Max Christie, Kel'el Ware, and then some watch list guys, Colin Castleton, Adem Bona, AJ Lawson, Jared Rhoden, Luke Kennard, and Dante Exum. Those are sort of the key names that we covered in today's podcast. Friends, go play some Underdog with us at UnderdogFantasy.com. Go play a pick'em is what I think I was supposed to say there if I wasn't such a bonehead and screwed up the ad read before it even began. UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code OLDMAN and then just pick higher or lower on 2 or more players. But you can see as it's scrolling at the bottom there, you can go up to 25, 40, 80x, 1,000 times your entry fee, depending on how many names you put in your pick'em card. And if you sign up today with our promo code, you can get a deposit match bonus up to $1,000. Yep, in bonus cash and a free play, a free square. If you ever play bingo, it's the free square in the middle. So on that particular day, you'd only need to pick one instead of 2 higher or lower projections. And they got points, boards, assists, all kinds of delicious stuff that you can play with there. I would strongly recommend waiting to get some of the news during the day because the NBA is straight bonkers right now. This is both a very difficult and a very fun time to be playing over an Underdog because so many guys are out and we play so much fantasy basketball that we know who the winners are when guys get ruled out. So it's a great opportunity for us to play higher or lowers in spots where other folks might look and go, well, I don't even know who the hell these guys are. But we do. That's the magic of playing fantasy basketball all year long. Thanks for watching, everybody. Subscribe to the channel. You jerks. I love you guys. Please keep subscribing. We're still trying to add 8 to 10 subscribers every day as we work our way down the finish line. Back with you in a couple of hours with our streamer show for today. It'll cover Thursday and Friday. This is day 11 out of 42 in our playoff push stretch run. All of my head-to-head leagues that I'm paying close attention to are in the semifinals right now, and I'm in them, which is also extremely exciting and nerve-wracking for me. And I'll admit, I'm going to be a little bit less motivated if or when my teams get knocked out. So you better hope that I keep going here so that I'll be just as motivated on these streaming shows. I might, by the way, not do a streaming show on the last week of the regular season. That's a stupid one, and nobody plays, and your leagues should be over by then. So maybe the goal is actually 35 in a row instead of 42. Stay tuned. See you guys on social at Dan Besbris, and I'll see you back here in a couple of hours with our streaming program. Please subscribe so you get that one. And Spotify users in particular, it's so easy to drop that 5-star review. Please do that for me as well. I'm Dan for Old Man Squad. Oh, big announcements coming up. Let's do it tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow. I'll see you guys then.